common problem I and others have is writing a quote within a quote. Let's take an example of this, and now I have to figure out how I'm going to cite all this in this particular quote. In an interview with John Lester, I asked the esteemed professor how he felt about politics. Quote, "I've always stood by the words of Malcolm X, who said, 'You're not so blind with patriotism that you can't face reality. Wrong is wrong no matter who does it or says it, because I believe he has placed his finger on the mark of truth.'" So we have John Lester's quote, and we have the quote from Malcolm X. I don't know what to do, so I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to ask the question. In the search bar, I wrote, "How do I quote a quote within a quote?" Give credit to both the original source and the source you actually used. And here's the example. The interviewer, the date, as cited in, okay, so that means that the original book was Chan's book. Okay, so I'm going to follow that. So instead of when, we have Malcolm X, and instead of 1999, we have the title of the article where the quote originated, as cited by Lester, who is the person that I interviewed. And it wasn't in a book, it was an interview. So here's how I'm going to do this. In an interview with John Lester, I asked the esteemed professor how he felt about politics. I've always stood by the words of Malcolm X, who said, "You're not to be so blind with patriotism that you can't face reality. Wrong is wrong no matter who says it, does it, or says it, because I believe he has placed his finger on the mark of truth." Malcolm X, by any means necessary, that's the Malcolm X book, as cited by Lester, and it was an interview. Period. Wrap it all up. So whenever I'm stuck like that, rather than poring over something, I just take advantage of the resources available, and I go to Google and ask the direct question, how do I quote a quote within a quote? Or how do I quote something else? And I'll usually get the answer there. So that concludes this short tutorial on how to find the answer to a citation question. Also, if I was writing this essay, it's like a huge research paper for a university course or for major credit or for whatever reason, I would probably send it to the professor and say, "Is it okay with you if I quote this? Have I quoted this correctly?" And let the professor see if that citation is acceptable.